Hello, everybody. How are you doing? I'm doing pretty goddamn well myself. It's a pretty fantastic Wednesday afternoon here, July 26th. Nice and relaxing. I got myself an inversion IPA. I got myself a nice seat down at my desk. And we're about to preview UFC 214. This is going to be episode 39. The UFC 214 preview. All right, before we hop too far into the preview for UFC 214, so far I would say it's probably you'd have to say it's probably the best card of the year. 3 championship fights on that one. We'll break that down here in just a minute, but that's the most that I've seen on a card in, I don't know, quite a long time. Awesome. It's going to be the return of Jon Jones, my favorite fighter. Just about everybody's favorite fighter that's been watching it for, I don't know, at least 4 or 5 years. Along with the title shot for Cyborg and some other stuff, so it'll be super interesting there. Before we get into that, though, I just want to touch on, what was it, UFC Long Island on Saturday. Good ass fight card, in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. Only watched the main event myself as I was working. Kind of didn't really, or not the main event, excuse me, the main card. As I was working, I didn't really have a ton of time to sit around and keep an eye on the other stuff, but I did get to see the last 4 fights. I really enjoyed all of them. Really only one surprise, but let's just get into it here. The first fight of the main event it was a bantamweight contest where we had Jimmy Rivera defeating Thomas Almeida. Unanimous decision, 130-26, 130-27, and a 29-28. Interesting little bit of a split there between the 30-26 and the 29-28. But, either way, it all goes to Jimmy Rivera there. Avoided a lot of the power of Almeida, although he did get clipped 1 or 2 times. I think he got sat down once. Interesting fight there. Almeida got sat down a couple of times himself. I don't think that had happened to him recently in his UFC career. So, pretty good fight there. Both of the fighters actually look good. I don't think that Almeida really takes too much damage as far as his reputation or his marketability or anything like that's concerned from this fight. He looked good, in my opinion. A lot of power, obviously. Jimmy Rivera looked very good. Let's see, he was number 4 before that fight, so it'd be interesting to see how things pan out here in the bantamweight division. I think we got Cody, and then Dominic Cruz, Dillashaw. I'm not even sure who's above him. Ricardo Lamas? Is that right? I don't know. But, so it'll be interesting to see if Jimmy Rivera might be in the running, maybe to fight one of those top guys versus a Dillashaw possibly, or maybe versus a Cruz, or even versus a Cody if Cruz is unable to go or something like that. But a good performance there for Jimmy Rivera. One of the judges giving him a 30-26. Can't hate that. Congratulations to him. All right, the light heavyweight division. This one was an upset. Both on the money line. 3 money line upsets. 2 of them I called. This one I did not. I thought I had Gian Villante winning the fight. Patrick Cummins wins the fight by split decision. All 3 judges seeing it 29-28. 2 of them for Cummins, 1 for Gian Villante. Good fight there. I was surprised at the significant strike difference, I guess, between Cummins and Villante. I thought the Villante would probably be the leader in that category. It was a pretty big difference towards the end of the 3rd round. I think there was like a 30 or 40 strike difference. I believe that Cummins was up around 110 to Villante, maybe like around 70 or something like that in significant strikes. A good banger, though, overall. They kind of got tired towards the end. Not surprising, though. I mean, they're both big. Cummins not in fantastic shape. I guess maybe a little more surprising that Villante got tired, and he did. Definitely. He also, I will say, the battle of the damage situation, Cummins, his face looked fucked up. He had both of his eyes were pretty much swollen shut. He had a fat cut above his eye from a headbutt, an accidental headbutting situation between the 2 of them. So really, he looked much worse for wear. As far as like just the physical damage was concerned. But, when you're talking about 30% more or something like that on a significant strike, ratio. And still, I mean, one of the judges gave the fight to John Vellante, including, notwithstanding that information there. But overall, a good performance, I would say, from Cummins. Vellante, not the greatest performance at all. I'm going to have to take a step back for him. Cummins looks good, but with his age and his recent lack of success, otherwise, I'm not sure how much this does for him and his brand, or whatever you want to say, as far as getting some good fights or moving up in the rankings moving forward. We will see how that plays out, though. He definitely did look good, and congratulations to you. I really have no idea why I congratulate any of these people. They obviously are not listening to the show, and even if they ever fucking heard it, I don't think they would really care about me congratulating them. But, yeah, maybe I'll quit that shit. All right, enough of that. Moving forward, featherweight division. Guess this was the co-main event of the evening. Maybe not. It was the second event of the evening, or like the second main event of the evening. Upset that I called on last weekend's show, or whatever. Darren Elkins with the victory, split decision victory over Dennis Bermudez. Pretty even fight here. All of them 28-29. Two of them going for Elkins. This one was pretty back and forth. Some solid strikes, landed on each side. Nobody really hurt too terribly bad. Elkins definitely was able to use his range for the majority of the fight. I would say Elkins won the third and probably the second. I think Bermudez, or no, he probably won the first. Bermudez probably won the second, and then Elkins won the third. I got that on my underdog. What was it? It was a plus 80, or plus 180, excuse me, by the time I bet on that, so I got that W there. Pretty fucking stoked about that. And a good win for Darren Elkins. Let me get my paper out real quick. Yeah, let's see. Bermudez was number 10 at featherweight. Elkins number 12. I don't know that we're going to see a lot. I don't know, though. That's what, 5? How many straight wins? At least 5 straight wins for Darren Elkins, including beating Bekchik. That was a good one. So I don't know. Most of them decisions. Back-to-back losses for Bermudez. I'm not really sure what happens for either of them. They probably basically switch spots. Elkins probably gets up to about number 10. Bermudez probably falls to about number 12. Something like that. And I don't know. I mean, it's pretty tough to tell who you'd match up with either of them at this point. Maybe you give Elkins a crack at some of the people in the top 10. I mean, he's 5 straight wins. What else can you do? He's definitely moving up the board. He's 33 years old, so he's not getting any younger. You might as well just give him some opportunity right now, huh? All right, and that takes us to the main event of the evening. Middleweight division, number 5, Chris Weidman beats number 8, Kelvin Gastelum via an arm triangle choke in the third round. Both fighters looked good. Chris Weidman, I thought, looked really well. Was able to pretty much stay away from the majority of the striking of Kelvin Gastelum. Not that surprising to me. As I talked about in the preview from last weekend, he is, 5 inches taller? Let me look at this again. 5 inches taller, 6.5 inches on the reach, and he was able to use that to his advantage for the majority of the fight, and either stay on the outside or move it inside, use his wrestling ability and his strength advantage over Kelvin to dominate the fight there. I think come round 3, that probably had a major impact on the fight. Kelvin, he's not known to be terribly fucking incredible cardio, and it kind of looked like he faded a little bit, especially not faded too much, but Weidman was the bigger, stronger guy going into the fight, significantly. I mean, I think he's like 20 or 30 pounds heavier, walking around than is Kelvin. I think about 20 maybe, but a lot of that is muscle. Chris doesn't carry the type of body fat that Kelvin carries, and I think that kind of wore on him in the third round, and Chris Weidman ended up with a really pretty dominating grappling performance in round 3. Even was on his back himself and ended up switching that and getting the arm triangle choke from the top. Looked good. His dad definitely freaked the fuck out. Everybody thought it was like the biggest win of all time in his corner. Definitely a big win. maybe a little bit of an overreaction from everybody, but I don't really care. It's not really my place to say what they do, how they fucking feel about things. Great win for Chris, though. Let's see, I think he called out Bisping or something like that. Bisping talked shit about his paps. I don't think that he's really in line. I don't think I would give him the next shot at Michael Bisping. I'd like to see somebody fight the motherfucker, though. Rockhold seems to be a good choice. I don't know what he's doing. Obviously, Robert Whittaker's got to be next, but after that, maybe you make another Weidman-Rockhold matchup for now. Rockhold hasn't fought in a year and a half. His last fight was against Bisping, getting KO'd, and before that, his last fight was against Chris Weidman. And so Chris Weidman has fought, 3 times since he fought Luke. Lost 2 of them, and then won this last one via submission. I think that's probably a good way to go for each of them as far as their next matchup's concerned. I don't know about Yoel. You could obviously throw Yoel in there with either one of those guys as well. The only thing is there's going to be one odd man out. You kind of have to figure that out as far as who you're going to feed that motherfucker to, or who you're going to feed to that motherfucker. All right, well, that's going to take us to the end of the, UFC on Fox 25, or the UFC Long Island little recap here at the beginning of the show. I'm sure everybody's stoked about this next one. Let's get into it. UFC 214, the return of Bones. John Bones Jones, the baddest motherfucker on the planet. There's actually been some talk on like MMAfighting.com and shit like that I've seen in the past few days on Facebook that John Jones wants to fight Brock Lesnar, and Lesnar has agreed also that he would be interested in that fight. That would be super, super fucking interesting. I actually would give the advantage to John Jones in that one, but I'd have to say that that's probably pretty close. That, or maybe a crazy striker at Overeem. A Stipe Miocic might be, might be the best threat to John Jones. I'm not sure that he would be an underdog against any of those guys, though. I mean, I think that he would probably still be a favorite. Let's assume that he gets through this. I think that he would probably still be a favorite against Stipe. Interesting set of circumstances there. And with no further ado, let's get into this shit. UFC 214, Honda Center, Anaheim, California, coming up this Saturday night, July 29th. Let's see, 1, 2, 5-fight main card, 3 of them championship bouts. 2 of them could be setting up championship bouts. Incredible card. As I said at the top of the show, this is probably the best fight card of the entire year, and probably will prove to end up being the best fight card of the entire year. Maybe the New Year's Eve or late December card could match it, but otherwise this is looking promising as fuck. And then we're going to talk about two fights from the prelims that also I feel like are pretty interesting fights, or pretty big marquee name fights, or something worth watching here. All right, let's start at the bottom. We have at a catchweight bout here, 140 pounds. We have number 8 bantamweight, Aljamain Sterling, taking on the number 14 featherweight and ex-bantamweight champion. I'm not sure why he's ranked so low, Renan Barão, at 140 pounds. Pretty weird here. Aljamain Sterling coming in at a minus 132, Renan Barão a plus 112. I would assume that has to do with Barão not looking fantastic since the whole USADA takeover. You combine that with, a unanimous decision loss to Jeremy Stevens, that KO that he received from, he hasn't fought much. He hasn't fought, let's say, in almost a year, first of all. And really just nothing impressive. He hasn't done a whole lot. He's only had 2 fights since he got knocked out 2 years ago by Dillashaw and lost his belt. I know he's had a string or a little rash of injuries here. But you got to see something out of you. You were the champion 2 years ago, and now it's one of the bigger falls from grace that I can remember in the UFC in recent time. Sterling, kind of back and forth a little bit. He beat Augusto Mendez in April of this year. Lost to Rafael Assunção in split decision in January, though, so that could have went either way. Another split decision loss last year to Brian Caraway, and before that,